Connecting. And we're live.
Cool. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to this experimental podcast called Culture Binge, where Alec, who runs all of the content at Wisecrack with me, and I will be talking about and reacting just kind of random cultural stuff that's happening both in media and outside of media, and just in the spirit of experimentation, since he's here with me in LA because he normally lives in New York, but he's on the West Coast doing some visiting, seeing the new office and everything. So joining me is the co-runner of Wisecrack content, Alec. How's it going, Alec?
It's going great. I'm very excited to. I think some of this will make you sad, but I think we like to make each other sad.
Yeah,
too.
Alec and I like to try to break each other. We just try to make each other. How cynical can we make each other about the state of the world? So the way this is going to work is each one of us has brought in a couple stories from the news, from various culture news sites and stuff, and we're just going to talk about it, or we're going to react to it. And Alec brought in something first, so we're going to go with Alec. Alec, what do you got for me?
All right, I just need 1 second.
Sure.
Pulling up the live stream so I can talk to you all wonderful people.
While he's doing that, I'll just go ahead and apologize. I'm still getting over a cold, so if I'm sounding a bit nasally or anything, I apologize.
All right, so the first thing we got is if anyone's seen the Burger King advertisement, it is.
Yeah, I know you're going to bring this in.
Yeah, Burger King is. Jared has already seen this, but I think every time I show it to him, he gets a little more and more sad. Burger King is coming for McDonald's Happy Meals in an unexpected way. This is according to CBS 58. According to a press release, the fast food chain introduced real meals on Thursday to celebrate, quote, being yourself and feeling however you want to feel. There are 5 different real meals, box options that correspond to different moods. Pissed meals, which is mad, blue meal, sad, salty meal, bitter, yas meal, excited, and DGAF meal, don't give a fudge. Sorry to our YouTube overlords. We've been having problems with them. The hashtag Feel Your Way boxes come with a full-size Whopper combo meal, which includes fries and a shake, but no toy.
They all come with a shake.
Yeah.
See, that's the one thing in the commercial that they don't specify. What's in the meal?
They just specifies. Well, we're gonna get there. Well, we'll continue talking. I'm gonna show it to you. I'm going to make sure my audio is working. All right,
here we go.
Not everybody wakes up happy.
I've seen this too many times now.
Sometimes you feel sad, scared, crappy. All I ask is that you let me feel my way.
Feeling blue.
Is he just talking to himself? Is that what we're meant to believe?
Can't wait to leave
Maybe.
this close-minded town.
yeah. People just talk to themselves.
Well, who is not letting him feel his way?
The man.
This is just so cliche, just standing on the edge of your bed in a hunched over position, being sad.
That's what I do when I'm sad.
Do you really?
No, absolutely not.
Because
I fucking watch Netflix for 8 hours.
Right, exactly. Or just binge on fast food.
Yeah.
I'm never moving out of my parents' home.
See, this is another thing.
Just got ghosted.
The opportunism.
Didn't know.
Yeah, I can't move out of my parents' home.
Pretty sure.
It's just
So I could
let's-
probably afford a Whopper combo meal.
Yeah, let's just like do a grab bag of all of the things that are plaguing this generation and opportunistically feed into it to say that we get you. It's just really gross. I hate this fucking commercial. So, well, I just broke the cursing rule. Whatever.
I think what's its like to dislike ratio?
Right now, it's at 3.4 thousand likes and 12,000 dislikes. Honestly, I'm surprised there aren't more dislikes.
Only like 600,000 people have watched this video. I feel like not enough.
I can't believe they haven't. Okay, there's a blue meal, yas meal, pissed meal, salty meal, degaff meal.
The top comment is, I think you've seen this before, Jared, is, oh fuck, where'd it go?
The top comments change, man.
Oh, does one of the boxes come with a Gillette razor to cut myself?
So the fact that it comes with a shake, all of them come with a shake, almost makes it worse because, of course, fast food is already horrible for you. And, of course, you could argue that there's like a predatory thing going on here where it's like, hey, if you feel sad, this horrible food will make you feel great for a couple minutes and then you'll feel even worse afterwards. But the fact that they're throwing in the shake, which is excessively sugary and bad for you, really just nail in the coffin.
Yeah, like the constant stress and like being depressed. It's very bad for your mental well-being, but also like your physical. So why don't you just like top it off with like a shit ton of fat and salt and grease. What's interesting though is that this is actually in conjunction. And by the way, I hope people know us that we're not shitting on mental health or mental health problems because it's in conjunction with an organization. It's eluding me, but it's part of like Mental Health Awareness Month.
How does this bring awareness to mental health?
Well, I think what they're trying to say is it's okay to be sad, which is a fine message. But again, the context is it's okay to be sad and then eat your fucking heart out. You know, like.
Well, also there's this thing. We get you. You know, it could come to Burger King where we understand that you're sad and. I don't know. It's weird. I've actually been struggling to figure out what exactly bothers me about this, but it does profoundly. What do you think?
Well, okay. So I think this is in a context of lots of other things that I hate. For instance, the Sunny D tweet heard around the world. I actually brought it up. For anyone who doesn't know, Sunny D one day, this is February 3rd, 2019, just tweeted, "I can't do this anymore." To which Moon Pie, which is some sort of junk food that I haven't had, which is surprising. I've had most of the junk food in the world. What's going on, Sonny? And then Sunny D replied, "Mood last night. All good, MP. Thanks for checking in. Illy?" I don't know what ILY means. I'm not cool. But it's, like being a buttoned up brand is not cool. And I get that. Like the idea of like a person in a suit communicating with me as a human is not appealing to me. So you've got like brands, originally like MTV is like, we're the cool brand, we're not corporate and buttoned up, or Facebook, like we go into work in jeans and a Wisecrack t-shirt, but I
sit in beanbags all day,
play ping pongs, and that's all cool. But I think the result of this is Sunny D's like, what will really connect is that if we as a corporate entity pretend to have the feels and be depressed just like you millennials. And I think there's that. And the other thing I think is there's a Twitter account that I love. I recommend everyone check it out, called Nihilist Arby's. And it'll have messages like, the universe will end in 2 million years because of the incoming heat death. Nothing you do will ever matter. Enjoy Arby's. And it's just amazing. It's an amazing Twitter account. But I feel like this ad.
Well, that's like the honest version of what this is.
Yeah. It's like, life sucks. You're in debt. Have some Burger King.
Yeah. That's the worst thing, is when corporations are trying to sell us happiness the fact that they're taking advantage of an ailment about people's personal problems and trying to use that as a selling point is just exceptionally gross. And the fact that they don't think that people on the internet will see through it is particularly offensive. I'm surprised this video is still up, to be honest. I can't believe they didn't see their blunder and they haven't taken it down. They're very lucky that only, 700,000 people have seen it so far. I'm surprised that it's not up to 5 million views and has been as much of a shitstorm as the Kendall Jenner Pepsi thing.
Yeah, it's like we can organize as a society against Sonic and get that changed, but we can't take this out.
I don't think the ad is necessarily being harmful. I think it's just really insulting.
I don't disagree that it's insulting. For me, it's not insulting. It makes me hurt inside.
It's insulting for a variety of reasons. One, because as I said earlier, it's taking advantage and it's exploiting people's real problems and doing it for very opportunistic reasons. But secondly, it really is just a very hollow, empty gesture towards serving mental health. But how does that bring awareness to mental health? I don't get it. Saying that it's okay to be sad, even if that's your message, I don't really think that's a particularly productive message. It's okay to be sad, and what? And what do we do about that? And like we just, if someone is shitty to us, we just say, "Oh, cool, man, I get it. You're having hard times too." Is that the message?
Well, I think in general, for people who aren't Burger King, it's like, you know, like people are depressed, people have anxiety, like, and I think, like, if I were to break my arm, I'd be like, hey, Jared, I broke my arm, but mental health, which is often a medical thing, when you're like depressed, I wouldn't be like, hey, Jared, FYI, I'm super depressed, think dark thoughts all the time, because that's just our society, and I think it stops people from seeking help and doing the things they need to. So on the awareness of saying, like, listen, it's okay to destigmatize depression, anxiety, all these other things, that's fine. But when it's Burger King, like, yeah, I don't, what is it? Don't give a fuck, DGAF. We just broke the swearing. I don't care. But
yeah, but if the message then is, hey, you don't have to perform like you're happy if you're really sad, I still don't think that's doing anything to help mental health. Sure. Because people are still sad. Yeah.
It just hurts me on the inside, and I think I want a Whopper now.
Yeah.
I want the Impossible Whopper, which is coming soon.
Well, we talked about in a video that we made almost 2 years ago about cynicism in advertising, about how the only way you can really sell something these days is by undercutting your own message. And we talked about Deadpool and how Deadpool does that. And even when Deadpool 2 came out, there was a whole Hungry Man campaign where Deadpool was sponsored by Hungry Man frozen dinners. And I guess the way that it was a successful ad campaign is because like a Girl Scout would go up to Deadpool and say, Hungry Man, really, Deadpool, you're selling out that hard? And I guess just by admitting that you're being cynical, or admitting that you're being a sellout, somehow it's okay to sell out. But what is this? Like, what is I feel like there's some sort of bizarre progression going on.
I think we've talked about this before, but you know, there's the like postmodern disillusionment, which is Deadpool, which is nothing I do matters. I'm cynically selling you shit. It's fine. And then after that moment is like metamodernism, where people like understand that authenticity is like, it's fake or it's bad or whatever it is, but they move past that and be like, yeah, it's kind of BS, but I think I'm gonna embrace it anyway. So you have people moving past the disillusionment towards like a self-aware embracement of authenticity, and I feel like that's what this brand is doing.
So once you've moved past the Deadpool ad, where basically you realize that, oh, just because he's pointing to the fact that he's a sellout doesn't make him any more of a sellout, and being a sellout sucks. Once you've accepted that and that makes you sad, the next step is to play to that sadness and to say that, hey, we hear that you're sad too, so buy our shit.
Yeah, and also it's if I recall right, they had those commercials, The Creepy King, which were kind of like this like disillusioned whatever. Like they're just nonsensical ads that were really funny.
Well, the Creepy King, that was like 2006
That's
to
the last time I
2010
watched
or
TV,
something like
yeah.
that. Yeah. That's old school.
But yeah, so I think they've moved past that. But speaking of the power of the internet to change things, I think you have something for me.
Yeah, the first thing I was gonna bring up, which I don't think, I mean, this is a test format, so this is a little bit of old news, but hey, the news cycle has been a little bit slow in these last couple days. But yeah, I want to talk about the Sonic thing. So a trailer for the new Sonic the Hedgehog movie was released, and the internet was so unhappy with the design of Sonic that the director announced over Twitter that they would be changing the design. And there was actually a leak about a month ago in which there was like some sort of interior corporate slideshow that showed the design for Sonic, and people were initially freaking out, but perhaps they reserved some judgment until actual footage came out, and then when the footage actually came out, people were not happy. So it's brought up a lot of questions about, you know, the power of the internet, whether or not movies will be having this almost like first look thing in the future where studios will present what they're going for and then seeing what the internet has to say about it and then adjusting. What do you think about this? Do you think that they should have changed it, should not have changed it? Do you have strong feelings about if it was shitty or not?
Oh, I think it was. I played a little bit of a Sonic as a kid, but I'm not like emotionally invested in it like other people are. But I mean, I thought it was stupid. I wasn't going to see it. I think even after the redesign, I'm still going to think it's a stupid movie. I could be proved wrong. Maybe they'll get Danny DeVito to voice him, and I'll go watch it. But I am very excited for Detective Pikachu. This movie, looking crappy, has re-spurred interest in Detective Pikachu, which I think
is out today.
Yeah, because it's like they made an artistic choice that worked there, and then Sonic did some creepy stuff and has baby teeth. Yeah, I think it speaks to the power of the internet, and weirdly, there's been a lot of examples of like the internet sort of influencing large corporations recently. I think this is the most wholesome. So as far as I know, and please anybody correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, nobody was getting like death threats or anything like that. People were just like making fun of the trailer and, you know, not like finding the address of the creative director and like sending him like a thing of shit. So,
Well, not yet. I mean, there are stories of people getting pretty pissed off when they turned Sonic's arms blue. There was at least one story of a guy who basically went into a GameStop and tore the place down just because they had a cardboard stand-up image of Sonic with blue arms.
I'm laughing, but I'm sad. Yeah, don't do that, guys. Yeah, it could happen. I hope it doesn't happen. But it reminds me of, do you remember the Spider-Man puddle fiasco?
Yeah.
I don't think it changed anything. So the context is that in it was like a trailer or a screenshot of like the amazing graphics in the Spider-Man game for PS4. There was like this really large puddle and the like water graphics were really good. And then when I think the game came out or trailer came out, the puddle was much smaller. People flipped to shit.
Yeah, they said because I guess there had been similar scandals where companies will show footage and it's at a certain resolution and say that it's gameplay, and then when the actual game comes out or when more gameplay footage comes out, it's like lowered down resolution and they feel like they've been cheated. I didn't really follow that story very closely, but I do know that the developers ended up working in a joke, making fun of the people who were mad at that. I think there was either an achievement or some sort of DLC that was called like Puddle Mode, where they just like put a bunch of puddles in there. I could be getting that wrong, but they did wink to the fact that that was something that got out of hand. The other thing is, I mean, for me, I've kind of given up hope for most video game movies, especially ones that don't seem to very gracefully enter into a cinematic world like Sonic.
Yeah.
You know, if it were something like Mass Effect, I think most people, the game is already pretty cinematic, so having a cinematic adaptation of that makes sense. With Sonic, I mean, there's not really much of a plot. I mean, well, in the core game, I mean, if you want to go to like 2006 Sonic, there is a plot that everybody hates. And various games have different plots, but there's no real big universal lore that seems to lend itself gracefully to the silver screen. And so it's not like I think that by changing the design, the movie's going to be good.
Yeah, it will.
And in fact, it would be much more fun for me if the movie was just a complete catastrophe, because we all like to refer back to really, really, really bad movies like the Super Mario movie or the Double Dragon movie. And those, to me, give me more joy as cultural artifacts of just complete garbage than movies that are just like okay.
Yeah, I want it to be really good or really bad. I agree with that. Or the Street Fighter movie.
So I mean, I would probably, if the Sonic movie came out with the original design and it was god awful, it would probably be more fun to talk about in like a decade than the redesigned one, which is probably just going to be meh.
Yeah. You also, I want to bring up, you said an earlier thing about, is this almost like a test audience, like putting the trailer out as a new test audience? Before that, Gregory DeGraff said, to you or me, I'm not sure, probably you, any beard tips, sirs? Oh, both of us, sirs.
Oh, God, no. I got nothing. I mean, I just have one of those like $30 automatic shavers.
Yeah, I have a really shitty one, and be born with really hairy parents. That'll help you.
Yeah. But what I was going to say about that is the one thing I find interesting about that is it's unclear still how much the people who post on the internet, how much they actually represent the large movie-going or TV-watching audience.
Well, there's not hard numbers, but I feel like there's a correlate to the... Well, I think there's a few correlates, but one is the Dunning-Kruger effect, which says that people often... The dumbest... The people who are least able to do a skill are most overconfident. And I think in like conversation, that often manifest in the people who know the least speak the most. And I'm not saying people complaining about Sonic aren't, but I think there's another thing, which is that people who are the angriest will also talk. So I think those two things collide. You have the angriest people talking the most, whereas I think probably most people, like I saw the Sonic thing and I was like, that's dumb. I probably wouldn't see the movie regardless. And then I just like clicked off of it. But it's the people who will dominate the conversation who are like infuriated, like a vein is bulging out of their head. Those are the people that will essentially shape the discourse. And yeah, I don't have numbers, but I'm almost positive that's what's true.
With the Sonic thing, it's clear that the people who designed that Sonic are not fans of the game. I'm pretty confident in saying that. And so it makes sense that there would be such widespread outrage. But take something like The Last Jedi, where the internet decisively does not like it. I still don't really know what percentage that is of the people that saw it don't like it. And even if the people that saw it in mass don't like it, how much of that overlaps for reasons that people discuss on the internet.
Yeah, no, exactly. And
so, I mean, I would say there's probably similar outrage towards Star Wars as there is Sonic. I'm very interested to see how that manifests in Star Wars Episode 9 and if they do take those criticisms into account. But I doubt they're going to do it as enthusiastically as they have with this Sonic backlash.
Yeah. The thing that you brought up that I think is really interesting is, I don't think they're doing this intentionally, but I think movie studios might, is that, and they're probably still doing this, studios show test audiences the movie and say, what do you like, what don't you like? They can essentially they can not pay anybody and get a much larger sample size by either just putting out a trailer and treating the first look as the test audience and checking out Twitter, or they could leak it by accident, quote unquote, and that could do it. And I feel like there's another kind of parallel thing happening in video games, which is that I don't know too much about the industry, but it's almost like, are people testing video games anymore? Because it seems like, well, the game's in alpha and you're going to still spend $50 on it.
You're talking about the Anthem stuff?
Anthem, but all of them. I think it's even Fortnite is, it feels like a complete game, but it calls itself the beta or something like that, where it's almost like you're going to pay for this, but instead of us paying game testers, you're the game tester. So that framing is don't be mad when everything goes wrong.
There's a great article that breaks down the entire Anthem catastrophe. I mean, apparently that was a huge production nightmare, and there was the leader of the studio left, and then some guy had to pick up his slack, and very late in the production cycle did they actually start making any meaningful progress. I don't think that I haven't done the research on it. This is kind of away from Sonic, but I do think that if they had the time, they would have tested it regularly, but they just didn't. And so, unfortunately, the compromise, which is not very good, is to just let fans be the beta testers.
But I think it'll always make money sense to, in movies or not, to get the beta testing for free.
I mean, we'll see. I don't think Anthem is doing gangbusters, and I think they just canceled the new Dragon Age game or something like that because of the underperformance of Anthem. I don't know that for sure. I didn't come prepared to discuss Anthem, but what do you got next?
All right, so this is a tweet. I think you've seen this as well, but it's from Aowen Higgins, and here it is. What do you see, Jared?
It says, the tweet says, LOL, fuck off, Delta, and it is a picture of a Delta poster that says union dues cost around $700 a year. A new video game system with the latest hits sounds like fun. Put your money towards that instead of paying dues to the union. And then a cool video game controller that looks like some sort of awkward combination of a Genesis controller and a PlayStation controller. Probably somebody who doesn't play video games. Yeah, it sounds like they're trying to bust the union by saying, hey, man, think of all those cool video games you can get. Of course, if they unionize and are able to get higher wages, I'm sure they can probably make up that $700 and still buy the video games. But yeah, it's pretty cynical.
Yeah, the thing that strikes me isn't even the pro or anti-union thing, but it's almost like
They just assume
their employees are so fucking stupid.
Well, not that gamers are stupid, but there is it's not like you're saying, oh, you can get a great vacation, you could join a gym, you could really improve your life. It's more just no, man, you could just have more leisure time. You can be lazy like we know you love to, you lazy fucks.
Yeah. I mean, how many hours did you spend on Red Dead?
Many. And just as many on Sekiro, which I finally beat.
Yeah. All right, what do you got?
All right, so this next one is, I guess, a little bit more serious, but I want to talk about a show that is not new at all, but has recently come back in the news, and it is 13 Reasons Why.
Mm-hmm.
So CNN claims that a study showed that suicide rates increased after 13 Reasons Why came out. And recently, I think last week, there were a series of articles claiming that 13 Reasons Why is dangerous because it depicts suicide in an inappropriate way, or it depicts suicide incorrectly. And you know me, I'm very, very skeptical whenever people say that art should or should not be a certain way because it is socially irresponsible. I mean, for me, like, you basically have to be yelling fire in a crowded theater in order for me to suggest that the show should or should not exist or should even be changed. So I'm struggling with this one, and I actually... Well, go ahead.
But you know, so the fire in a crowded theater comes from a Supreme Court case, and I forget, unfortunately, what the case is, but it wasn't about yelling fire in a crowded theater. He was using it as a metaphor for like speech that would cause harm. It might have been actually about...
Okay, well, I'm using it as a metaphor too.
No, but what I'm saying is... Yeah, sorry, continue. We'll talk about that in a second.
So I actually watched the show last night. I had never seen it. I wanted to be a little bit more informed watching this. I watched like half an episode. They're all an hour long. But interestingly, there was a 45-second prelude before the show started where all of the actors would say, hey, my name is blank, I play blank, and want to let you know that you're about to watch a show that deals with very serious issues, and if you're somebody who has considered harming themselves, call the suicide hotline number, and blah, 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 blah.
Do you think they just added that, or do you think that's been there?
I wonder if they just added it. I don't know, though, because I have not tried to watch it earlier. But, man, I watched it, and I'm not the demographic, so if anyone listening is a fan of the show, I'm not meaning to shit on it, because it's very well shot. The actors are pretty good from what I saw, but teen dramedies, actually there's no iddy to it, it's just dramas. Teen dramas are something I find particularly kind of gross. Like the idea of depicting teenage emotions as important, relevant, and significant, I think is generally bad. You know, when you're a teenager, you have all these hormones that are making you think all these things, and I think that feeding into that budding narcissism is just shitty. Like,
I think you're right. This is maybe one of the most misanthropic things I've ever heard you say, though. You're just like, teenagers, yeah, fuck them.
No, I mean, teenagers go through a really, really hard time, but I don't think it helps to to amplify these really confusing and disorienting emotions that they go through.
Yeah.
And plus, what I'm saying, and it's also when you're in that transitional period, it's not good to feed them stuff that's just going to make them more and more narcissistic.
Well, isn't the whole premise of the show like this girl committed suicide and it's like, here's all the people who wronged me? So it's almost like a sense of like justice of like, yeah, I really showed them by like, isn't that the whole complaint? It's like, I really showed them by killing myself.
Yeah. So
which fed on kids who are, you know, dealing with some shit, who, yeah, want to be like, well,
the premise is a girl killed herself, and all of her friends or pseudo friends or whatever, they get like these cassette tapes, and she's basically just created this really elaborate plan that after I kill myself, I'm going to mail all of these tapes that talk about how terrible my struggle was, and then people are really going to think about me differently and feel really bad, and I'll have this kind of bizarre, disgusting legacy as somebody who changed everybody's life. So it's definitely romanticized suicide without a doubt. But so let me go through. So this article is written by a guy named Mark Hennick, and he claims that the show is dangerous for the following reasons. The first one is the show makes suicide seem romantic by putting it in the context of a Hollywood plotline. A simple, logical, and well-connected plotline may satisfy the story arc needs of a viewing audience, but it is rarely, if ever, the way that suicides really happen. I think this is a dumb point, because how is this any different than a war movie? He's basically just saying that, yes, cinema, by the fact that it needs catharsis, that it needs a beginning, middle, and an end, is going to take whatever it's depicting and romanticize it.
No, I mean, I forget the name of the movie, but like, isn't there a movie about, it's either Columbine or just a school shooting? It's Elephant or something?
Elephant. Yeah, I know what that movie is.
I mean,
I've seen it.
I don't really, but there's not like a catharsis to the school shooters, is there?
No, but that's also an art film, and
Well,
it's an art film, but I don't think that, I mean, if he's suggesting that all movies that tackle suicide or school shootings have to be art films.
no. I think where you and I differ is that, well, first of all, I think where you and I agree is like, I'm not saying the people who create 13 Reasons Why should be like legally liable or anything like that. But I mean, we create shit on the internet, and not you, but like when I make something, like I consider myself a writer, and like my goal as a writer is to do X, Y, and Z. And if you walk away with the exact opposite of that, like if I wanted to make a video to make you think more, about a topic in a more nuanced way, and you walked away more zealous and angry or like ideological after the fact, I'd be like, oh, I didn't do my job. So like, if I was writing a video or making something about suicide, well, first of all, I don't want people watching that to hurt themselves. I would feel fucking terrible. I'm not saying people should come after me with pitchforks, but like, my whole point is, as a creator, I would ask myself some questions, and maybe this disclaimer came after the fact and they put it like, suicide hotline, all that. That's great. Like, I think that's fine. But also, like, I don't know, like, I think we were talking about this earlier, and your point was not that it's dangerous or offensive or anything like that. It's just bad and dumb. But
I hadn't watched the show yet, and now I've seen it. And I don't know if I think the show is bad. I mean, it's not incompetent. As I said, it's really well shot, very well shot.
Yeah,
and
sure.
the actors are decent.
Right, but do you think the concept is bad? Or...
I don't know. I'm struggling with this, but the point that I was making is that, and look, like, yeah, Wisecrack, we probably take our quote responsibility as content creators, we probably take it pretty radically, but that is not something that I expect all content creators, especially people who are just trying to entertain. I don't think that needs to be universal. I don't think that people need to take a social responsibility into account for their work always.
But it depends like what the topic is. Like if you're making a makeup vlog, right? You're gonna be like, "But this is just fucking makeup I like." If I end up convincing you to buy an ugly makeup, whatever. But like, if you tackle as a subject like when Steven Spielberg decides I want to do a Holocaust movie, or when you decide to make a show about suicide, or when you decide to make a movie about school shootings, like those are things that people are going to watch. And I mean, not all, but the filmmakers we talk about are often setting out to change people's minds and convey a vision. And if the vision that you want to convey is like, yeah, dude, you want to be awesome, killing yourself and like showing these people what's up, whatever word you want to call, I just think that's dumb, bad. I don't know.
I would agree, but I don't think that where I differ, and we talked about this before, is how I think that today it's irresponsible how much responsibility we put solely on the communicators, the creators of content, writers, whereas we put very little responsibility on the people consuming the content. You need to be a better viewer. You need to be a better reader, a better interpreter, so that we enable people to be able to watch 13 Reasons Why and realize how dumb this is, rather than getting sucked up into the kind of whirlpool of narcissism that the show attributes to kind of teenage angsty problems. When you're in high school and somebody calls you fat or whatever, you shouldn't be thinking that this is the end of your life like the show does tell you to do. But you should also be able to look at the show critically and say, yeah, this is a Hollywood show. They're able to capture attention by making the individual who's watching and viewing things through close-ups, making us identify with these characters. And if you're able to deduce that, they're just doing this for catharsis, you should be able to elevate yourself above this and say, I should not be looking at this like a mirror into my own problems, and I should not be looking at this as some sort of validation for the way that I feel. This is a fantasy that I'm looking at. And
I think I agree mostly with you, but my whole point is like, yeah, teaching people media literacy, that's what we're all about. At the same time, I would not put that burden. I would want to teach this person, but I would not put that burden on a 14-year-old who spends all their parents' money on Fortnite skins. Like,
yeah,
I can at the same time be like, I want to teach you how to be a better media consumer, and at the same time be like, but I don't.
But my argument is that right now the responsibility is almost 100% on the communicators, the creators, the content producers,
yeah, sure.
Whereas it should be at least more like 60-40, 50-50, maybe something like that.
Yeah.
That's kind of all I have. I mean, if you want to go through the rest of this list of ways that they think that it is... Here, I'll go through another one. So the show simplifies suicide by suggesting that bullying alone is the cause. I mean, once again, I don't think that a movie or a TV show has any responsibility to show every single cause of every single ailment. Bullying may not alone be the cause, but it is a cause, so I don't think that they need to, once again, list all of them. It portrays suicide as a viable option, one that can be an understandable outcome given a particular set of circumstances. In nearly all cases, people who die by suicide have a diagnosable and therefore treatable mental health problem at the time of their death. Yeah, I mean, I would argue that the way that the show dramatizes the fact that this girl kills herself and everybody is just obsessed with it and they're all just being really introspective about everything is just dumb because it's not realistic. Not that things have to be realistic necessarily. Go ahead.
We just got a good comment from John Donuts. Also, I think the worst thing about the show is they gave a step-by-step guide to how to kill yourself and make it affect everyone around you to maximum effect.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's... it's almost like the Burger King in that there is an opportunism in saying that, hey, teenagers are in vulnerable psychological moments. Let's just feed into that and...
Yeah.
And
I think we both hate it. I think we can...
No, I hate it. And look, when I was watching it, I was like, fuck this show. And of course, if I'm saying fuck whatever, I don't want it to exist. But I also wouldn't suggest that it ought not exist. And by the way, nobody is saying that 13 Reasons Why needs to be taken off Netflix. No one is saying that it needs to be censored. So
yeah,
I'm not suggesting that it's gotten super radical about it or anything. All right. What do you got for me?
All right. So we've actually got a video coming out in part on this, but I believe you're familiar with Anna Delvey, a.k.a. Anna Sorokin.
Mm-hmm.
For anyone who doesn't know, her nickname is the Soho Grifter. I'll call her the Billy McFarland of being a socialite. She essentially pretended to be an heiress to a wealthy German industrialist or something like that. Showed up at these fancy Manhattan clubs and immediately started befriending and networking with all these rich people. She would tell everyone that she was trying to build an art center for millions and millions of dollars. She got a kind of working class photographer for I think Variety magazine to come to this allegedly all expenses paid trip to Morocco, and the photographer ended up $70,000 in debt because her credit card started getting declined. So she got arrested. I think specifically got arrested because she photoshopped bank documents. So she goes to a bank and is like, I want to build this art center. I'm a wealthy person. Please give me money. And some number like 60 million or something like that. And so she photoshops bank statements where saying that she in her bank has $600 million. Then the bank is, I guess when you want to borrow that much money, the bank is like, great, well, we have to do a ton of work to verify you have the money that you say you do, due diligence. So there's a $100,000 fee just to even have us consider this massive amount of money.
Oh, wow.
So then she goes to another bank to get a loan for the $100,000 or whatever it was to do it. Anyway, so she... this is from an article from Andrea Gonzalez Ramirez on Refinery 29. Anna Sorokin was just sentenced. It says, Anna Sorokin, who scammed her way into Manhattan's high society by posing as a German heiress named Anna Delvey, was sentenced to 4 to 12 years in prison. Judge Diane Kiesel announced on Thursday. Todd Spodek, her defense attorney, argued that Sorokin didn't have any criminal intent and instead pretended to be wealthy to get ahead by taking advantage of a system that is, quote, easily seduced by glamour and glitz, end quote. He alleged Sorokin had been, quote, buying time and planning to repay all the money once she was successful. So, yeah. What do you think, Jared?
I love this woman. Because, and we bring this up in the video, I do think that people like her and Billy McFarland, who I don't love, they do function as kind of these cultural whistleblowers in which they kind of embody everything that is wrong with a certain sect of society, whether it be Silicon Valley or a culture of the wealthy that is so focused on appearances and not really on any form of substance. And yeah, if most rich people are able to just basically fake or like, yeah, if so much of social climbing is just faking it till you make it, then she is a very prime example of how people can just be swindled and awed by people just performing the quote unquote demeanor of wealth. And if any event is able to make people be more critical of that, I think, hey, not necessarily it's a good thing. Obviously, all these people that she screwed over, that photographer who was $70,000 in debt, I feel very bad for that person.
You shouldn't. I felt bad for her, but you shouldn't feel too bad because I think she sold a story to, I don't know if it was HBO or something like that. She made a pretty hefty profit on that. So I think the jury decided on like that part of things not to really slam Anna Sorokin with that because they're like, that woman's fine. She had like a shitty couple months, but she's got a nice windfall from this whole fiasco.
So she scammed everybody bad enough to at least repay her victims by the fact that HBO wants to make stories about her.
Yeah, HBO has, I think, optioned the Anna Sorokin story. And yeah, I've had some brief encounters in my life with, I'll say, like very... just not wealthy, rich people. And I've just seen, like, speaking of the Arts Foundation, I've just seen, it seems like when you're rich or married to someone who's rich or have a lot of rich friends or the son of a rich person, you kind of just get to like piss away money on you. You might say like, oh, I'm going to create a company that makes candles, but these candles are special. And all these people, because they're surrounded by yes men, like they never get told no. So just so much money gets pissed away on the dumb ideas of people who have too much money and can do whatever they want. So when it comes to her being like, give me $60 million for an arts foundation, is that really different than any of the other like shit that these other people do? I guess the one difference is that she wouldn't be able to ever repay the bank. But even as like people raise money from investors and stuff, and it's just, yeah, she's like a cultural whistleblower for how arbitrary and stupid being like a socialite is. Like,
right. Or the fact that people make these investments based on who you know, and just if you speak the language of wealth, and if you're able to just convince an investor just by looking at them in the eye in the right way, that you will make them money and they'll invest in you. So yeah, I think she does really reveal some really ugly parts of that industry or that world.
I'm going to be very vague, but I heard about one person trying to create like a youth center, but as they described it, they were just opening like everything a library does, like a place for kids to hang out and feel safe and, meet people. And I'm like, yeah, that's a library. It's free. Like you don't need to get your rich friends to give you hundreds of thousands of dollars to open this thing.
Right.
But yeah, there was also, I don't have this in my notes, but the lawyer also essentially made an argument that she didn't do anything that literally everyone else doesn't do. She was just faking it till she made it, which is literally what everyone in our society does.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, I got one more thing for you. You ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right, so this one is something that neither one of us is an expert on, and I'm talking about Game of Thrones.
Yeah, I'm not an expert. I've watched it all.
But rather than talking about specific plot points, as people are there's a large community of people who are very engaged with the show that are unhappy about the way the show is going or the way the show is ending. And it's kind of reopening a discussion on whether or not fans should claim ownership over a property that they have helped to succeed. So do the creators have an obligation to do what the fans want them to do? Or do they have the obligation to, if they think they know what they want, know it's the creator's job to show them what they want?
Yeah, it's weird because when you put it in those words, it's like, that's weird. At the same time, I don't like the latest season, but I don't feel like I own it. I'm just like, well, it sucks that I love the first season of Westworld and the second season.
But have you ever had your identity wrapped up in a piece of fandom or IP? Because I have.
The Matrix?
The Matrix, absolutely.
Yeah.
And that was a devastating disappointment in my life. And that was actually the last time was The Dark Knight and The Dark Knight Rises. And after that, I kind of told myself I'm never going to allow myself to get that invested in something again because I just can't take the disappointment, man.
But I think that's the lesson everyone needs to learn.
Sure.
It's not part of my identity, but
obviously that there's take a grain of salt with that. Obviously, if there are people who do have their identities wrapped up in this, it would be irresponsible perhaps for the show creator to just spit in their faces.
Yeah. So what I think is interesting, and for movies, you can subvert the audience's expectation. Like if it's a standalone movie, some movie you've never heard of, not fan community, you can do a thing and then do like an M. Shyamalan and the water kills them. Woo. And that's fine because you've only invested an hour and a half or an hour or 2 hours into this movie. It's weird when like Game of Thrones, I've been watching, I don't know how many dozens of hours or maybe 100 hours I've spent watching that show, where when the ending sucks, I'm like, great, I just wasted my time. Like I wasted 100 hours or 50 hours instead of I wasted 60 minutes. So I think that is a little weird, and I definitely get that. At the same time, like, I don't know, just like move on. I'm going to keep watching Game of Thrones and I'm going to keep being disappointed. Maybe they will make me happy in the end. But
look, I think there's an element of reality here where when you make something that's popular, you have to more or less give people what they want, and it stops being yours.
Sure.
Like, even like Wisecrack, which is not the most popular thing in the world, like I couldn't just make it about long plays or let's plays tomorrow. I couldn't do that because we have fans who tune in every week and we owe them what we've promised them, which is,
sure,
thoughtful content every week or whatever. So in a sense that they do own it. And I would say the same thing about Game of Thrones. And now I think that the Game of Thrones writers are doing their best to create something that the fans are going to like. I don't think that they're just saying, oh, fuck them, I'm going to create my own like amazing artist vision. Also, I'm going to take this right turn and it's going to be a David Lynch movie at the end. They're not doing anything that radical.
Here's a question, though, about us, because I feel like for some people, we've obviously gone through like a lot of different phases, Thug Notes, 8-Bit Philosophy, Earthling Cinema, and then, the birth of Wisecrack Edition, which is now, I guess, the entirety of the channel. And even in Wise, it went from just philosophy up to now we talk about Firefest. Now we talk about genre. We talk about these other things. And we've gotten a lot of great feedback from the fans. But I think some fans, and I've seen comments on Reddit, are like, oh, Wisecrack is different now and I don't like it anymore. And I'm not, that's fine, right? But I think, we can't make everyone happy all the time. We also have to like grow. And I don't know, like there's kind of like an armchair, like, yeah, I wish like they would just do this exact thing that I wanted, but that wouldn't even make sense for like the larger audience or like being sustainable as like if we were doing the same thing we were 3 years ago, we wouldn't exist anymore because you have to keep reinventing yourself and keep doing new stuff and experimenting and stuff like that. So I think, yeah, it's interesting. I think it's okay to be like, I don't like Game of Thrones, I'm going to move on with my life. I guess that's hard for some people, but
I mean, on a very fundamental level, you just can't make everybody happy.
Yes. I'm curious what the people are saying in the comments. Bring back 8-Bit Philosophy. Hashtag bring back.
And by the way, all these things could very well be brought back one day when we just are able to make it work financially. I mean, 8-Bit Philosophy, and I've said this before, is like our most expensive show to make. But yeah, I mean, we'd love to bring it back one day.
I love that show. Yeah. Any other thoughts on
Game of Thrones? I mean, we got 2 episodes left. I'm very interested to see how it goes. More than anything, it's just I'm interested to see how 2 guys with seemingly the weight of the world on their back have so much pressure to make this succeed, to make people happy, to give a great finale to something that is so beloved. You can screw up everything with an ending. Right now, Game of Thrones is one of the most revered shows on television ever. That could all change in the next 2 weeks if people don't like it. So I just like to see what people do when they need to perform under pressure.
I've never seen it, but have you seen Lost? I feel like that was a similar.
Yeah, I have not seen. I've seen the first 2 seasons, but I never watched it to the end.
People are saying they know how it ends. Oh, thank you, Socrates. By the way, great name. Donate $5.
Oh, thank you, Socrates. Socrates.
I'm going to read the comment, but I don't know what they're referring to. Hi, guys. Just want to know if you'll be doing a memorial video for the people that died on the USS Liberty. Also, will you cover Lavon Affair? I don't know what either of those things are. I'm sorry, Socrates. I appreciate the donation. People are talking about Thug Notes. We love Thug Notes, too, and we'd love to, bring Thug Notes back.
I mean, Greg Still's on the movie podcast all the time, and we talk about it a lot, and we hope to bring it back soon.
Well, Jared, I've got something for you.
Okay.
Have you heard of Google Stadia?
Yeah.
it is Google's platform for cloud gaming. Is that the right word? You don't need like a really expensive PC.
Yeah, you just like stream games.
Yeah. There's a great article on Medium by Eric Ravenscroft. It actually essentially asks the question or asserts that Google could learn a lot about you from its new gaming platform. So here's a quote. For all of Google's colorful products and silly games, not to mention the search engine you use every day, it's easy to forget that's one of the world's biggest research companies. It gathers data on everything from education to UX design to artificial intelligence. It even studies how you use sites like YouTube and Gmail. So what could it do with the kind of data it gets from users through its new Stadia game streaming platform?
How would that be any different than if Stadia used discs and the console was just connected to the internet at all times? I mean, couldn't they just get the data from the internet, just you playing a game with a disc?
I guess they could. Well, especially games are like always online, even though they're single player, and that annoys the hell out of me. But they could. But I mean, his point is kind of like the information they'll get is invaluable. So he's saying basic information like what games a user buys. All right, like Steam can get that. How long they play, what device they play on can provide valuable insights that might help Google do what it does best, sell ads. And then goes on to talk about there's already like kind of existing psychology research about play styles and like aggressivity. And there was some psychologist or some researchers looking at World of Warcraft, studying like how close your avatar stood next to certain people versus other people. What is like the team dynamic to kind of make this, I guess, sociological research. And I guess in that context, like if Google, like there's a well-known kind of fact about if you're a political strategist that you can generally tell what political party people associate with based on their magazine subscriptions, and you can buy that information. Sure. So when it comes to games, like I wonder if it's not only what genre of game you're playing, but like your play style. Like, are you playing aggressive? Like Deus Ex, you could do the sort of stealth mode and not really kill anyone, or you could just go, do the very aggressive, shoot everyone. Like, will that give them data about like what kind of ads you need? It scares me, but I don't know if that necessarily scares you.
I mean, it's kind of one of those things that I really don't like, but I just assume is happening in the background anyway. As far as Google Stadia, yeah, I'll assume the worst. I'll assume that every whatever feature that they're offering has some sort of shady backdoor data motivated element to it.
Yeah, and do you feel like at a certain point it's almost like there can be no such thing as free will because they know your mind better than you do?
Yeah. I mean, I kind of think that the Facebook algorithm is already like that. Right.
Or, well, the Facebook especially, it's not even they know who you are, but they're like, hey, are you vaguely interested in weird conspiracy theories? Like, here's 18 million.
I've heard that, I don't remember where I heard this from, so it could be nonsense, but I heard that the Facebook algorithm knows when people are gay before they come out to even themselves or something like that.
You could be thinking of pregnancy. Or
that's weird too.
No, it wasn't Facebook. It was Target. So Target like has a profile on like all their customers and what they're buying, and they could tell based on like what kind of food people were buying and stuff like that, and certain other items if they were pregnant. So what they were doing is they were sending people a mailer being like, congratulations, here's some deals on like diapers and cribs and shit like that. But people were getting it before either they knew they were pregnant or before, like, if they were not telling their partner or, a variety of reasons. So they had to stop doing that. But yeah.
Yeah. I don't really have much insight to give to this whole data thing other than I just don't like it.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's all I got for you. You got anything else? You want to wrap it up?
I think we can wrap it up.
All right. So this has been the maiden voyage for a test podcast, Culture Binge, which is the tentative title. We can always change it. Send us an email at movies, which is our movie podcast email, movies@wisecrack.co, or leave us a voicemail at 213-534-8807 or 21-ELFGUT07. If you have any thoughts, you want us to keep doing this, this has just been kind of something we wanted to do since Alec's in town, and we figured we might as well do some experimentation. So let us know.
Yeah, and also big shout out to John Donuts, donated £10. I don't know what that converts to, but
thank you.
Any amount is greatly appreciated. John Donut says, I like to own my own games. Things like Stadia and Game Pass means, in theory, you don't truly own what you pay for. And we're kind of working on a video to that effect. So stick around.
Yeah, stick around. Thanks, guys, for listening.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, let us know what you like, or if you don't like it, whatever. Peace.
Send me hate mail, and then we'll redesign.
Yeah, all hate mail to Alec at wisecrack.co.
I will paint my arms blue.
All right, thanks, guys.
Where's Woody?
Yeah.
What's
right
up?
there.
Guys, sorry about the audio thing. That was my bad. I
What
was like,
what
oh
happened?
my-
I don't actually know.
Oh, it was just coming in one ear because we need to get rid of this cable. I'm sorry.
The
that was
cable
my bad.
shitty? Okay.
But it fixed and it was good for most of it.
Yeah,
so.
it was good for most of it. We fixed
But
it.
even like the one, it was still audible. It was
Still
weird.
playing in one. It was only playing in one ear.
It's annoying.
One ear.
Yeah. What'd you guys think?
I thought it was fun.
Yeah, I really liked it. It's interesting. I like news stuff.
I like new stuff too.
It feels a little bit more accessible to,
Anyway.
like someone like me who maybe doesn't have know every movie, but I would listen to something like this because I'd be like, oh, I know what's going on in the world.
You know,
vaguely.
Sonic exists. Yeah. Cool. Thanks, guys.
Nice.
Give me a Yas meal.